Over the years, I've been an astute PlayStation fan. Even if I didn't play all the PlayStation exclusives like the Uncharted's or the Ratchet & Clanks, it's been my preferred place to play. Partly because I had a PlayStation 2 bought for me when I was very young, and I always loved the PlayStation controller, and I didn't like the Xbox controller. The only time I ever touched an Xbox is when I borrowed the original with the Duke controller from my brother just to play Splinter Cell Pandora Tomorrow and Underground 2. I didn't like it and I gave it back. In 2017, I bought a 4GB Xbox 360 Slim just so I could play Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer less hacked than it was on PS3. Even then, I still used a Cronus Max so I could use the PlayStation 3 controller on the Xbox. But fast forward to 2021 and I want more. Yes, I have a PS5, but finally at 23 years old, I'm curious about what the other side has been like the last 2 decades. So I bought a Series X in Game Pass and I'm starting a journey. It's time to find out if the grass is greener on the Xbox side of things. I'm TapPlaysGames and this is Xplore, the series where we delve into the past, present, and future of the Xbox library and see what this PlayStation fan has been missing for all these years. First up, Gears of War. Developed by Epic and People Can Fly among a few other support studios, Gears of War was released on November 7, 2006. Almost a year after the launch of the 360 and a few years before I would get involved with this generation, as 9-year-old Tap was so comfortably playing the SmackDown series and the Tony Hawk series on the PlayStation 2. This game, along with its 2 sequels, Gears 2 and Gears 3, have all been praised as great games in their own right, but also one of the best trilogies in gaming history. Something I'm sure we'll explore in other episodes of this series. Alright, that's my second time saying explore. Do they understand that that's the name of the series yet? Maybe I'll say it again. Do you think I should say it? Maybe not. Maybe I should. I don't know. Maybe I'll try to throw it in there one more time. Yeah, that'd be probably a good idea. Maybe not. I don't know. It was in the little intro, too, with the little green logo. It said Explore. I came up with that. That was really good. It's like Explore, but without the E, like Series X. That's really funny. That was really good. Maybe I should say it again, though. Maybe I shouldn't. I don't know. No, I should. No, I shouldn't. That's way too much. Okay, anyway, back to the video. One thing I definitely remember from this time period was the commercials for this game as well as Halo. More so than really any of the PlayStation ads from what I can remember. I think maybe because it was the enemy consoles, so maybe I watched them more closely, I already knew what was coming to PlayStation, but the Xbox ads were like always mysterious and different. Who could forget this legendary commercial?
All around me are familiar faces, worn out places.
Sup, bitches? It's Chad Warden here.
Hello, Chad Warden. TapPlaysGames here. I'm trying to make a review for Gears of War for the Xbox 360 for my new series, Explore. Yes, I knew I could get that in there one more time. I'm a stud.
The Xbox 360, Xbox Circle, they think they are. They think they're smart and shit. We ain't doing geometry. We try to play some games.
Chad Daddy, I know you're not a fan of Xbox. I get it. I was never a fan of Xbox either. But I'm trying to open up my horizons, and maybe I suggest that you do the same. Maybe you try to get an Xbox and see, maybe you'll like it. Maybe it's not that bad. Maybe you'll enjoy Gears of War.
Gears of War. Shit. Fuck Gears of War. More like Tears of War. Man, that shit has that little bitch crying all the time. See that commercial? Little bitch ass commercial with that song? With that pussy ass song? Shit. True Games has some 50 Cent in the background, some Fat Joe, some ballin'. Shit, not some of this Mad World shit. Man, fuck that.
Okay, Chad, as a sign of good faith to the PlayStation community, I'll show off a PlayStation 3 controller in this Xbox 360 era video. And also, as a sign of good faith to all the gamers out there, Wii controller.
Oh, that little controller, baby, that looks like a dildo. I ain't trying to play my games with no dildo. Alright, maybe if the game is like, WarioWare shove up your own ass game. Yeah, I don't know if there's any mini games where, you have to shove it up your ass. But
Alright, Chad Warden, well, I tried to make you happy, but all you've done is insult me and hurt my feelings the whole time. So how about you just never show up on my channel again and we move on from this, okay? See ya. The game follows the same formula of most of the other AAA games around the same time like COD and Halo. An 8 to 10 hour campaign with a multiplayer component. Sadly, the multiplayer was dead, not only in the original Gears of War, but also I was going to try to play some Gears of War multiplayer in the Ultimate Edition and just kind of include that in the review, but multiplayer seems to be dead on both, so RIP, no review in the multiplayer in this review. I apologize. Something else we're not going to be touching on in this review is the co-op campaign, which I'm sure the co-op campaign was fantastic. It looks like it would be a lot of fun, but I didn't have anybody to play with, so no co-op campaign. This is just a solo campaign. The game does have quite a linear campaign, as this was kind of before shooter games like this had much choice and consequence. Not that any of the Call of Duty, Halo, Gears of War type games have tons of choices, but like Black Ops 2, for example, did have some choices within the campaign. And there is a little bit of choice here where there's a split path system where you'll be going somewhere and you can choose you and Dom will split off into one area, and like Baird and Coltrane will split off to another area, and you can choose if you want to go left or right, which I did actually enjoy that. I did play the first level over again of the Ultimate Edition just to see what the graphics were like, because I was torn whether or not I wanted to play Ultimate or regular for the review, although I felt like I should play the original regular Gears of War because that's the most true to form. I want to play 2006 version. And I skipped the tutorial level and just went through the prison rather than doing the little tutorial since I already knew how to play. I actually did feel like that there was enough there. Even just replaying like a little bit of the first level, I mean graphics wise, but also just the gameplay and the little bit of different stuff you do, I felt like there was enough there to make it replayable. Like maybe I will go back, play the Ultimate Edition, and just pick the opposite paths of what I picked the first time playing the regular edition. In researching for this video, I wanted to find out who really invented cover systems in shooter games. I saw Time Crisis for first person and Kill Switch for third person being mentioned as some early games with a cover system. Really, regardless of what conversation I found on the internet though, the one common denominator was that Gears of War was considered to be the game that like really popularized the cover system. With the ability to roll from cover to cover, roll out of cover into the open, roll from cover like forward through a door, or just stay behind cover, and you can aim down sights or like blind fire an intense gunfight if there's like some close quarters action, you just need to get some shots off when desperate. The cover system is what set this game apart from others at the time and made it feel like a real war, in my opinion anyway. Almost like a playable movie at times, especially with the shaky moving camera while running, adding to the intensity. Somehow, it's almost like a playable cutscene, but it's not like it's a QuickTime event, it's just how the game feels. This does come with some flaws, however. It's easy to kind of lock on to the wrong type of cover. Say you want to move out of cover and go forward like through a door, you may accidentally end up rolling sideways and going to the other side of the door. And if you're stuck to a wall sometimes in like cover mode, you might have to like roll backwards to get away from the wall. That way you can just go where you want to go, because sometimes it's hard to control your character sticking to the cover or moving from one cover to another. I can't really hold it against the game too much though. I mean, it is Gears of War 1. I'm sure the future iterations of this franchise, the cover system, the shooting, and the rolling, I'm sure everything feels a lot better. Now, if it was like The Last of Us or something, and their cover system sucked and that was terrible, then that would be a problem. But this is 2006 we're talking about here, so can't really hold it against them too much. Reloading was another treat in the game. I didn't realize until I died and read a quick tip in the loading screen that the reload had a bar for faster reloads and higher damage if you hit it correctly. I can't even tell you how far into the game I was when I found that out. I'd probably say maybe a quarter of the way through the game, which I guess isn't too long, but still I was like, wow, I could have been using this the whole time. The reloading was something I mostly got used to, but sometimes I still forgot about it towards the end of the game, especially using the torque bow. I wished it was in the middle of the screen when you reloaded rather than in the corner, so I didn't have to take my eyes off the battle when I was trying to hit that bar when reloading. For the most part, all the guns are pretty fun and they each provided something a little different. I found the hammer burst to be the best gun in the game. To me it wasn't even really close, it just seemed like the damage and the accuracy made it the best. I don't know what the opinion of the like Gears of War fandom is, but in my opinion the hammer burst was the best. The Lancer chainsaw assault rifle was awesome for the chainsaw part, but I actually found the shooting of the gun to be a little too inaccurate for me, especially when the locusts were head glitching. That's why I actually like the hammer burst, because you could still kind of tag people behind cover. The Lancer is just too inaccurate for that. I like the bolt-on pistol and the snub pistol a good amount. They both had decent damage and they were fun to use. Didn't particularly care for the shotgun or the sniper though. The Hammer of Dawn was a cool concept, but it's limited since it couldn't be used indoors, which, considering the fact you're shooting like a giant ass laser from space into the earth, it seems like you could pretty much blast through anything. So I don't know how you couldn't blast through like walls and ceilings and stuff with that thing. You had to use it in the open, but regardless, when you did use it, it was fun to use. The boom shot, grenade launcher, and the torque bow are probably my two favorite non-hammer burst guns. I found the grenade launcher interesting because it kind of shot straight ahead, more like a missile launcher. It didn't really lob like a grenade launcher normally does in video games. So that kind of, even towards the end of the game, gave me a challenge because I didn't really know the exact right angles to shoot that thing at. Even towards the end, I was still shooting it right by a boomer's head rather than actually hitting him straight on. But I enjoyed the challenge of trying to hit your shots with the grenade launcher, and same with the torque bow. The torque bow, you can kind of torque it up and make it more powerful and make it more straight ahead, or kind of make it just lob, whatever you need. So it's a very versatile weapon, and it's fun to use too, because if you're ever fighting another enemy with a torque bow, it's kind of like you guys will both be loading up your torque bows, and it's kind of like a race of who's loads up first and who can shoot, or you can kind of load yours up halfway and just try to hit them before they hit you. So it gives a little dynamic. It's like a little meta within the game of like this torque bow jousting, which is kind of sick. It's like a little small thing in the game, but I found it to be enjoyable. One of my favorite things to do is plug up an emergence hole with a grenade from really far away. The little blue lines tell you exactly where the grenade's going to fall, even accounting for when the grenade bounces. So that was pretty sick. You can kind of bounce a grenade into the emergence hole from far away, plug up that hole, and the locusts are history. As far as enemy types go, there was quite a few different locusts and even some flying enemies like Nemesis and Krill. Although the gunfights and gameplay, as fun as it is, does become a little bit rinse and repeat after a while. The variety of gameplay relies less on the enemy types and more on the area you're fighting in, what kind of cover you have, and where enemies will come from underground, or even the wretches inside the walls. The gunfights against the locust, grenadiers, and boomers are all pretty much a piece of cake. Boomers can be a little more challenging though, just because they can be bullet sponges, but they're so big and thick, they're so easy to hit, there's really no challenge there. Wretches are also a piece of cake, but the Lambent wretches explode after death, which add an extra element to it. One of my favorite moments in this game was being in this tight room and there's wretches coming out of 4 different spots in the room out of the walls, and it was pretty crazy. Really kinetic, quick thinking sort of moment where you had to constantly be watching your back. It felt like I was in a zombie movie. The Thuron guards are probably the most difficult enemy, I'd say, because the torque bow and the bolt-ock pistol that they carry can both deal a good amount of damage, and they have the smartest AI of all the enemies, taking cover better and keeping a lower profile, kind of crouching down, going from cover to cover, making them harder to shoot. My biggest issue with this game is probably the corpsers and the cedars though. I feel like the kills of the cedars and corpses are usually just unsatisfying. Rather than fighting them like you would a locust, where there is a set amount of damage that can kind of keep you shooting, there's a certain way to kill these bigger enemies. It's usually with the Hammer of Dawn, which is a cool weapon like I mentioned earlier, but it can be pretty unsatisfying in the grand scheme. I actually had to look up how to fight the corpser in the level with all the emulsion, because in this level, I was so confused what the game was telling me to do. It had a soft belly, so it was telling me to shoot the soft belly, but I wasn't dying when I shot it there. I was so confused. It turns out you have to shoot the belly. When it reacts to you shooting the belly, you have to shoot him in the head. He'll back up a few times. Rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. He'll back up onto this platform, and then he falls into the emulsion and dies. The cutscene that took place after this fight was actually pretty sick though, so I will give it that. And I guess it does give you a different little gameplay flow. Rather than you fighting a bunch of enemies, you're fighting one specific enemy and doing one specific thing. So I guess it kind of gives you a break from the constant hordes of enemies coming at you. But I kind of prefer, if I'm fighting like a big oversized enemy, for it to be something almost like Jedi Fallen Order, for example, where you got one big enemy with one big health bar and there's really no set way to kill it, although there probably is little ways you can pick up on after you die a few times and you'll figure it out. But more so, what you got to do is just kind of move around, be agile, stick and move, keep at it, and find out what the best way is for you to kill the enemy. Rather than these enemies, for example, these big ones, either you kill them with the Hammer of Dawn, or it's kind of just like there's one canned, predetermined way that you got to fight the enemy, and you just got to basically figure out how they want you to do it, which I'm not necessarily a huge fan of. I kind of prefer it to be a little more open concept and defeat the enemy how I want to, rather than how the game's telling me to do it. The Nemesis can kill you pretty quickly the way they kamikaze at you, but they're also pretty easy to kill themselves, so they aren't actually that difficult. The Berserker was probably the scariest enemy though. The charge is pretty terrifying when you can't get out of its way and it's coming right for you. Although the AI is pretty easy to figure out, so that at least alleviates some of the stress after the first encounter. The Krill are probably the most interesting enemy in this game, as they only attack you when you're in the dark, which is perfect when you're by the stranded, because there's some conveniently placed propane tanks literally only where it's dark. They also led to the APC mission, which was a complete surprise. I did not think there would be any sort of driving mission in this game at all. And although it kind of felt clunky and old, I still had a blast playing it. One last thing to mention is the leadership controls you unlock after being put in charge. As far as I saw, they were completely useless. I never really used them once to tell my squad where to go or what to do, and I pretty much forgot about them the moment I got them. I would like to think that in the next entries of the game that they improve the squad control feature and you can actually do useful things, telling your squad what to do, where to go, maybe give me some ammo or something like that. That would be pretty sick.
Jack, rip that door. getting you out. Here, put this on. You'll need it.
Let's talk story. You play as Marcus Phoenix, a soldier of COG, or the Coalition of Ordered Governments, who is broken out of a prison by an old friend, Dominic Santiago. Even though it seems like you'll both be getting some flack for you being broken out, Hoffman even refers to you as a traitor, the world of Sarah is under attack and they need all the help they can get. The overarching plot of the game is to use the light mass bomb to destroy all the locust tunnels. In order to do so, you need to find the resonator, use the resonator to get the targeting data for the tunnels. You are now a part of Delta Squad and you're looking for Alpha Squad. You meet Baird and Cole of Alpha Squad and they're the only ones left in their squad. Baird is an asshole who just wants to fight and argue at every turn, and Cole is an ex-athlete who just loves the action of the war and seems to always be having a blast killing the locusts. They're both two very opposite characters, but it leads to some really great dialogue and constant shit talking and bickering.
State your name, soldier.
Private Augustus Cole, Alpha Squad, sir.
Coal? As in the coal train?
Yeah, that's right.
Where's the rest of your squad?
They're sitting tight over in the tomb.
We're Delta Squad. We're here to retrieve the sonic device.
And to get you guys out of here.
Well, hell yeah, we've been waiting for the chopper, but the radios don't work for shit. Sir.
Repeat, Alpha. Kim is dead?
Confirm, Control. AIA.
Roger that. There's a courtyard at the other end of your building. That's your best bet.
Copy that. Well, we sure as shit can't stay here. You're Baird. Yeah, that's right, asshole. Question is, who are you? Oh, shit, quiet. Don't move. What was that? A berserker. She can hear us. She can smell us.
After seeing Kim get killed by Rom, the main villain of this game, you end up talking to some Stranded who live in a Fallout New Vegas type post-apocalyptic city setting. The Stranded agreed to let you use their junker, the APC, but it's located at a remote gas station. Once recovered, you'll have the driving and shooting mission against the Krill, which was kind of clunky, but it was really fun nonetheless. It breaks down like halfway to the emulsion facility and you have to go on foot the rest of the way. Once you make your way down to the facility, to the mine, you fight a corpser and you finally find and use the resonator, but it doesn't do nearly enough to map these tunnels from the locust. There's still miles and miles and miles of tunnels left that are unaccounted for.
I mean, that lousy resonator didn't deliver the goods. According to Anya, we're missing data on, hell, I don't know, most of the network. We need 100 resonators to map these tunnels.
So what? We'll use this instead.
I'll use it to smash your teeth in. How about that?
Shut up and look at it. Look, those are locust tunnels, Phoenix. You know I'm right.
Where did you find that?
It popped on screen when I hacked in. The files were there.
Phoenix, report!
Anya, are you seeing this?
Affirmative. And Private Baird is correct. That geobot is showing more tunnel data than the resonator.
Oh, this is bullshit.
Give me a 0 point on that data.
Sir, well, it came from East Barricade Academy. From his father's house, specifically.
Whose father?
Sergeant Phoenix, sir.
You think you can still find your way back home, Phoenix?
Yes, those are locust tunnels.
Baird just happens to find a locust device sort of outside of the facility, and once he hacks it, he sees that there are a bunch of tunnels mapped out, but most of the data is in a basement of East Barricade Academy belonging to Adam Phoenix, Marcus's dad. The secret lab inside the basement has files of all these tunnels. Jack downloads the files while Marcus and Dom defend the house. Baird and Cole defend the APC. 4 of you end up meeting at the APC and you take off with the Brumach on your tail. You escape the Brumach though, and you get to the train station where you have to fight your way onto the platform. Dom and Marcus are the only ones that actually make it on the train. You have to fight through more locusts, a berserker, and General Rom himself. With the train heading for a blown up bridge, your team has to pick you up last second right before the train flies off the tracks into the Emulsion River. The light mass bomb shoots its missiles under the Emulsion into the Locust tunnels, blowing them up for good, killing all the Locusts forever. Or so you think.
They do not understand. They do not know why we wage this war. Why we cannot stop. Will not stop. Why we will fight and fight and fight. Until we win. Or we die. And we are not dead yet.
Honestly, I felt that the story was probably the weakest part of the game. Maybe I'm just stupid, which is very much possible, but I was always kind of confused of what was happening and what we were doing. Maybe it's because a lot of the dialogue is kind of given to you through the soldiers yelling at each other, so it was hard for me to follow, I don't know. But I felt that there was a lot of unanswered questions. Now, knowing that there are more games in the future, obviously, that allows me to realize, okay, they'll probably answer some of my questions in future games. But I felt this game in a vacuum by itself left lots of unanswered questions, and if this game never had any sequels, it would really be like, okay, what about this and this and this and this and this thing? It's kind of weird. It mentions a lot of things briefly, but doesn't really dive into anything specific to understand what's going on or really give you any backstory or make you feel for any of the characters in the game. I just really didn't care, to be honest with you. They never say why Marcus is considered a traitor. They never give you any backstory about Marcus and Dom's relationship. They really tell you nothing about Rom other than the fact that he's just the big bad. Nothing about the female voice we keep hearing narrate throughout the game that's obviously a bad person, it seems, but they never tell you anything more. They never give you any details about the fact that you gotta go to Marcus's dad's house and go into the frickin' basement to try to get all these secret files. Like, why does he have these files? Who did he work for? What's going on? Like, they never really tell you much about anything. You're just kind of doing whatever the game tells you to do. I'd actually venture to say that I find this story to be pretty incoherent without the sequels that I'm assuming explain most of the things that I just laid out. Like I said, in a vacuum, the game just doesn't give you the details you need to really feel for the story. It feels like if they would have made this game 6 hours longer, it would have been amazing. Give you the detail, the backstory, maybe a couple flashback scenes where it's Marcus and his dad or Marcus and Dom back in the day. Seems like they could have done more. Maybe the fact that this was the first game in the franchise, they maybe had a limited budget, they could only do so much. Like, I understand, but this game by itself, I'm like, man, I just want a little more from the story. I almost feel like this game has kind of a poor story, but it's hidden by fantastic gameplay that's really fun and enjoyable. And you know what? I'm fine with that. That doesn't bother me. Especially if we have more games, more sequels that flesh out the story better. Overall, I really enjoyed Gears of War, and I'm happy to have finally played it. Something I didn't touch on was graphics, which were basically what I would have expected from the early PS3 360 generation. Nothing overly positive or negative to say on graphics. Those were some thick boys, though. The game almost suffers from being new. Researching for this video, I've seen lists of enemy types and weapons in the future games, so I know that the amount of stuff in these games increases. It'll only get better from here on out if I keep playing these games. There's sort of an interesting conundrum when it comes to the campaign of Gears of War. Story-wise, it definitely could have used more time to kind of flesh out the story and make things make more sense. You know, maybe find out about Marcus's dad, find out about Marcus's old squad, him and Dom, their relationship. But also, the chaotic, kind of fast gameplay kind of almost makes this game like a popcorn summer action movie type feel, where you don't necessarily want it to be a big blowout 16 to 20 hour story like a Last of Us or something. You know, you want it to be kind of a quicker, tighter experience. So in that way, it's almost like the game could have used a longer campaign to flesh out the story, but also you might not want that with the chaotic gameplay. You might actually want a quicker, tighter story. So you can kind of go either way. Obviously, they went the shorter route, and that's fine because we can just look to the future games for more details and more plot with the story. I don't know if they knew right away that they were going to be having sequels coming out, so they left some meat on the bone, but if they did, good job to them, because it makes me really excited to play Gears 2 and Gears 3 eventually here. Other than the occasional glitch here or there, and the cover controls being a little weird, the gameplay is king here. It's really fun, it's really kinetic action, and I would have eaten it up when I was 9 years old when this game came out, and quite frankly, at 23 years old, I still ate it up. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. This is my first episode of Xplore. I cannot wait to delve into more Xbox games, and I hope you guys enjoyed. If you enjoyed, make sure you give it a like, leave a comment, and subscribe if you're new here to TapPlaysGames. I'm Tap, I play games. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you in the next episode.